Welcome back to Birmingham, everybody, where the skies have not always been this clear, because earlier today we saw a barrage of rain, thunder, and lightning that halted the first game of the day here at the flying competition early. But we are getting set for game number 2, and we are delighted to welcome you back to our field-level broadcast position. Daryl Stanley, Megan Tormey, Evan Lepler, Liam, and Rael are standing by to call Japan and France as those two countries look for their first win of the tournament. Earlier today, Germany came from behind against Great Britain, built a 10-8 lead, and that's when the rain slowed everything down. Everything got a little slippery and sloppy, but Germany handled the conditions better, got the lead, and because the game was past halftime, the Germans were awarded the win. So Germany officially 3-0. They already had been, even before the start of this game, declared champions of Pool A. We'll see Germany in the semifinals tomorrow against the loser of the matchup of 2-0 teams later today between Colombia and Australia. We still have USA-Canada coming up later today. And let's be honest, the main conversation around the fields is about USA-Canada, which is a de facto quarterfinal game scheduled for 6 o'clock. We're aiming to go 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock, getting underway in about 10 minutes. But all the conversation is, what is USA going to do? What's going to change for the Americans if they're going to fulfill expectations in this tournament?
Shorten their passing distance, lower their passing risk, and I think work through everybody on the roster. I think that's all they're going to need to do to pretty much bring this back around.
I mean, those were the main issues that were costing them possession time and time again. They're very correctable mistakes, as we've said multiple times. But I do think that they're going to need to be a little more creative defensively in order to generate more break opportunities, should that be necessary against Canada. So it'll be interesting to see if they can come up with a few different defensive looks that will, enable them to stay in the game if Canada starts to go on a run.
They tried to show a couple of zonal looks, a sideline roller pull, but we kind of noted that it didn't really lack the conviction. It didn't seem like it was well practiced. It didn't seem like it was something that they felt like was a good plan C. It felt like more like plan Z. I don't know.
As a coach and a captain, you make these adjustments seem so simple and make them seem so easily employable. But in turning it around in 24 hours against an opponent like Canada, who does have some pretty good familiarity with the United States team, they played each other twice at the Poultry Days tournament in the pre-tournament prep. Canada is looking at this as a golden opportunity as well after they fell flat against Germany here on Tuesday morning to get the flying disc competition started. They are just 13 points away from a date with either Colombia or Australia in the semis as well.
I think I'm making it sound simple because some of these errors are that simple, I think. Also, these are very experienced players on every team. And with that level of experience, you can often say, hey, we've played Ultimate in other contexts before. We've been on teams that played small ball, as a lot of people are calling it. We've been on teams that focus on dumping and swinging. I mean, we've seen teams like the Germans, some of these more organized squads, show how quickly they can adjust their offense to play smaller or play bigger as is needed.
Yeah, you certainly look at players like Grant Lindsley and expect them to have both the execution ability and the ultimate IQ to be able to lower his shots when throwing to players like Claire Trope just because of her height. But to your point, Evan, I agree that Canada has to be coming into this with confidence because their trajectory here at the World Games has been certainly more positive. They had a really rough opening against Germany and then really dialed it in together in their next game, whereas the United States has not had that kind of storied of a journey so far.
We've got about 4 minutes before we get it to the duo calling the action, Liam and Rael. Before we get to Japan, France, quick thought about Colombia, Australia. Scheduled for about 2 hours from now, two unblemished teams at the tournament. The winner of the game probably gets USA if the Americans can beat Canada. Loser gets Germany. What are you looking forward to most about that matchup of 2-0s, and what's the story of the game?
I'm really excited to see if the Colombian men can play up to the height of the Australian men. Andrews, McGuckin, even Tom Tullett going deep, they have shown quick strike ability with all of their men matching players, and I really want to see if, hey, can the Colombians get like that deep D against those players when Australia ends up doing that vertical attack and throwing it up to them. If they can do that, then that really bodes well for the Colombians against either Canada or the USA.
And not only get those deep Ds, but avoid them as well. How many times did we see McGuckin seemingly come out of nowhere to steal the disc away from his opponent? I think that Colombia is going to have to be on guard more than they've been so far to ensure the disc stays out of his hands. I'm also so thrilled to watch Kat Phillips match up against these Colombian women. I mean, yesterday in her game, she just played phenomenally, took over in the kind of way that you would expect Kat Phillips to be capable of doing. So it'll be interesting to watch her rise to the level of the challenge the Colombian women will present for sure.
A true professional too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's it showed in her composure and ability to just keep playing through any condition right there.
And in her post-game interview with us here at our game day site. All right, Japan and France. It has not been the tournament that either of these programs dreamed about, but I think both have represented themselves well, especially the French. They took Australia to Universe. They played Colombia tough. Now one of these teams gets to experience a victory. And yes, they'll be headed to the consolation half of the bracket. But what are you most looking forward to about this matchup? And give me your pick.
Ooh. I really started to see some of the blend that Akifumi Morioka said that he wanted to bring, the big ultimates. He was big in the last game for Team Japan. I'm really excited to see if that can keep up. He showed himself as maybe a new star along with Kaede. The two of them were unstoppable, and I'd love to see if they can keep that up.
Yeah, those two players' performances, Yoshida and Morioka, I'm thrilled to watch them again. Although in talking about the French, we would be remiss to leave Kenton Roger out of the conversation. He has just been a dynamo of a player to watch. You want to give your pick first, Daryl?
Ooh, I think it's wet enough. I think the gloves are going to come in. I'm going to go with Team Japan to pull this out over the French. But I've been wrong a lot, folks, so bet against whatever I say.
I'm going to do just that right now, and I'm going to give this victory to the French. I think that they have been playing really, really hot, have risen to the challenge that the World Games has presented. I've been really fascinated with how they have played well with their first appearance at the World Games, and that can be incredibly difficult to do. It's just slightly different enough conditions that if you don't come in with a proper game plan, you're not going to have what it takes. And the French, they have been something special this tournament, even though they have not won a game.
Megan, I'm with you. I am also taking France. I think Sullivan Roble has been one of the breakout stars of this tournament, along with Kenton Roger in the backfield. But Masahiro Matsuno has made a lot of people wrong with his play in the past, and maybe one more vintage Matsuno performance, along with the youngster Muraoka rising into stardom. All right. Second game of the day. We've had to wait a little bit longer, but we are ready to bring it to you here from Birmingham at the World Games. Liam Grant and Rahel Toshnerova have the call of Japan and France here in Alabama.
Every 4 years, there is a new opportunity. A chance for the world's best players to take center stage. A chance for glory, for teamwork, for upsets, for gold. 8 countries are sending their 14 finest to Birmingham, Alabama for the opportunity to reach the pinnacle of ultimate. The 2022 World Games start right now.
Dearest friends and fans of the flying disc, welcome to another episode of our Ultimate Frisbee series, coming for you straight off the fields at the John Carroll High School in Birmingham, Alabama. We are about to show you a matchup between Team Japan taking on the newbie here at the World Games, Team France. One of the last games in Pool B, brought to you by Rachel Doshnerova alongside my Irish counterpart Liam Grant. Now, Liam, these two teams rarely, and by that I almost mean never, meet each other. So it will surely be interesting to see how they can adapt to each other's game. Can you give us a bit more insight into their specific styles?
Yeah, coming from different continents, have a lot of different styles here. More culture than a yogurt, these two teams. France taking on Japan. And both teams probably a little bit disappointed to be in this situation, already out of the tournament. But you look at France here, it's all their first time at the World Games. They want to get a win. They want to get it bad. They were probably expected to lose this game, but they probably played the better of the two teams, actually. They've really shown courage, bravery, and gelled as a team, while Japan hasn't as much. You see Eric Becker there, the Is No Good man, has played really well. Celine Antoine, the captain here, playing with Sescu Discus, bringing a really good mixed style to this team.
We've seen some excellent highlights out of different players on this French roster. For the first time, we see them sporting their blue kit, giving us lots of visibility, helping the good old commentators out. Here is the Japanese roster.
Yeah, and they've been improving, definitely improved the last game, Japan. The first game, they did not click at all, but we saw Taku Hona really stepping up and maybe pushing downfield and allowing actually the women to handle, I thought, worked very well for the Japanese team, for those initiation cuts, get the flow going, because that thing they really struggled with was generating flow. We know how good these Japanese teams can be. They've done particularly well in the open and women's division. It's just transitioning that to the mixed division, which has been a challenge for them.
100% agree on that one, Liam. We see the teams prepare to pull. Here's a big one out of Imanishi. Nice float on that. France receives in the middle. Anselan looks for his reset. And immediately a game stoppage.
Yeah, pick call there. Looked like a pull play from the French. We saw a vertical stack. Everyone running towards the sideline, trying to isolate one player, but looks like a pick was generated out of that. One of their pull plays, the French.
We have started with 4 women on this first offensive possession by France. Roblet receives the disc back and taps it back into play. Capel unhappy with the contact on the mark. And the call immediately accepted. Almost a D. Great defensive effort by Japan. France finally finding a gainer to Bournon. Centers to Berthet. And she goes wide to Anselan. Good lateral movement, Bournon now. On the near sideline, and here's the deep shot. 2 players underneath. Japan get a hand on it. Kitao with the defense, but it seems like there will be a discussion.
Hiroaki Kitao with a great D there. Looked like Płatsikowski had really got position, but I thought that was a good play trying to get around the corner. Definitely didn't initiate a lot of contact. Going to discuss this now.
Let's see the replay here. The disc was really bladey, I think. France were trying to make it so that it would curve around the defender, but I thought Kitao got up nice and early.
Yeah, I think important to remember those new rules that came in 2021 about if you make a play in the disc and then in the follow-through initiate contact on the arm, minimal contact, it's not a foul anymore in WFDF rules.
We can ask you if you have a perspective.
I actually did not have a clear view. It wasn't clear and obvious.
Okay.
So if you would like, it looks like it's sounding to be a contest. So shall we send it back?
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So you've heard it yourself. Seems like The call will be contested, meaning that the players couldn't come to an agreement about what the actual situation was, which means they will just send the disc one pass back.
Tao probably feeling a little bit hard done by that one. The man who works in the steel industry tried to steal that one away, but it's going back to the French.
And they do it again. This time, the female in the end zone for the score. None other, Céline Antoine with the first offensive hold for France. They go up 1-0 over Japan.
Great start for the French coming out and getting a clean hold just about. Debatable call there in the middle. It's a few calls in that point. We're hoping the discussion's good though. But France, I think, probably more pumped up than this Japanese team. They're a team that expect to be probably in the semis, in the finals bracket. France, their first time in the World Games, they're just so eager to get a win. And I think for France, you see, they have a lot of young players on this roster. It's building for the future now as well.
We have mentioned this before. European youth development finally paying its dividends after several years of struggle against North American teams, as well as the Australians and Japanese, really, who have been dominating the world scene for a while now. But good to see the game advisors involved in the first point. These are not referees, for those of you who are not familiar with the self-officiating nature of our sport. They're merely there to provide potential interpretation, help on the rules, or else provide perspective when asked for it. In that last instance, turns out the GA, or the game advisor, actually did not have a good perspective, and they will tell you so if asked. This pull lands out of bounds for France. Seems like Inamura will dry it off her fresh white jersey and bring it to the so-called brick mark, giving Japan a little bit of a shorter field to work with. Very little movement from the Japanese, despite them taking our advice and initiating the cuts off of a female handler. And here's a deep shot almost immediately. Defense is underneath. Oh, and both players grab it at the same time. Is it a good idea, Liam, to go over Yoshida in the end zone?
Yoshida has been the standout player for this Japanese team. In the rules of flying disc, if both players catch it at the same time, it goes to the offensive player. Hard to understand
simultaneous catch.
When it happened.
It goes to the offense.
Yeah, but I think I tried it before her.
Okay.
And then dropped the disc.
All right. Would you like to ask for perspective from your teammates?
I think she will get very close. But because she's in front of you, she got the end first. You're really fast going, but I think it's a little seconds, but she's before. For my point.
What did you say? Yeah, but
So basically now the discussion revolves around the perspectives of other players.
It's not clear and obvious, so it's very close. So we're going to send it back.
To me, it did look on that last replay, Liam, like Bournon actually might have caught that disc split second earlier. Yoshida getting high. You disagree?
It was very close. It was very close.
It was
I don't
very
think
close.
Either player is being unspirited and trying to figure out when that happened. I think that's fair to send it back. You know, these are milliseconds here.
Exactly. So Japan goes underway. A very similar situation to the last point, just the roles have been reversed. Here is Asada with a break side throw. Kashino into the end zone. Great grab. And a little pop for Arakawa, who's been a scoring machine for Japan. And we're tied at 1.
Akifumi Muraoka there doing a bit of pirouette in the air. Had to throw his body in front of the French defender. Been a standout for this Japanese team, Muraoka. And that's kind of a story of this Japanese team is the transition from the old guard to the new. There's probably a big age disparity between this Japanese team. You have the like of the Matsunos, who have been around a long time, the Kaeda Yoshidas. That one very close. I definitely see where Bournon is coming from.
I really like the way neither one of them wanted to actually let go of that disc. Here's that high grab and lots of pressure by the French defense. But Asakawa very trusting in that his teammate was going to get that disc and continued into the end zone, attacking the front cone.
Yeah, Arakawa get free inside a phone booth. Works so well in that small space. You can see the Japanese players allow him to do that. When it gets to the red zone, they allow him to take over. And that's his role on the team.
Kitao sporting white gloves this time. We've had some rain and thunder earlier in the day, meaning that some of these players decided not to take any chances and put on gloves as to avoid the potential slippery hands. Not very useful when you're trying to throw the disc precisely. Here's the French. Stuck on the far sideline. The reset slips, but they get off another one. Roger looking around. Follows up the gainer. Lepagnol now looking for a reset. Not much there, but he will go around. Bosser with a huge OI forehand into the end zone. Defended beautifully by Arakawa.
Arakawa transitioning onto the D-line here. Usually an offensive player, but comes onto the D-line here to get a block on Roger. Didn't think he was going to make up the distance, but a fantastic layout bid.
We have seen the vertical jumps out of the Japanese. They have been showing them time and time again. And here's the first chance for Japan to break. Kitao goes to Matsuno backwards. Matsuno, a lefty handler, could be an advantage. Imanishi finds Okumura. They continue through the open side. We see a bit of a switchy mark from the French, starting on one side, continuing on the other one. But here's the continuation, deep shot. Defense is underneath, but a little too late. That is Hiroaki Kitao with the score for Japan. Japan take their first break.
Fantastic D-line offense from Japan. That was brilliant. We saw them yesterday really struggle with their D-line offense. Matsuno probably taking shots that weren't really on. But this is fantastic. We see Arakawa, like a little flying squirrel there. Just puts enough pressure on Roger. I actually thought he got a touch and that did not. And Matsuno waiting a little longer to take this shot. We saw him yesterday against Colombia. I think they had 4, maybe 5 break opportunities. He threw away 2 or 3 of them a bit hastily. And, you know, they have the cutters on this D-line to work up the field slowly. And he waited, bought his time, and took the right shot.
To me, Liam, it seems like the French will need to adjust to the Japanese a little bit more. If they want to stop them downfield and prevent those deeper shots, they really need to make sure that they play the position game well, stand behind them, and actually prevent them from jumping for the disc earlier than them. And the same goes for the French offense, where I would actually aim in the end zone more for their women or female matchups. Of course, except the one that's being guarded by Kaede Yoshida. This is a very nice floaty pull from Team Japan. Anselan centers it near the brick mark. Poachy look by Japan. The French cutters deep downfield. He finds Capel. They continue to the far sideline. Bourneau, a nice save. Sokolski goes through the break side, as they have been doing all game long. Here's he again with the save. Japan now knocking on the doorstep. Try to get the reset off 2 people in the handler space. Berthet. Waiting for her mark to set. Antoine back to Berthet. Berthet with a wide swing, but a pick call stops the play.
We saw France come out there in a split stack, trying to do another offensive pull play, but Japan wary to it and they're very good at shutting down those pull plays.
Absolutely, they set up that poach in the open side straight away, preventing any action really from downfield. Seems like the disc will go back. Imanishi giving Berthe a little bit of distance, saying that during that call she had a bit of distance on her. Capel goes to Ancelin. Berthe now goes for the wide swing. Finds her teammate in front of the end zone. Roblet. Will he go through the break side? Ancelin faking all over the place, looking for the hand he wants to score with. So much happening in front of the French end zone, and finally they find Bourneau at the end of the end zone. France holds and ties at 2 with Japan.
Great offensive movement there from France outside the end zone. Japan's so good at those end zone guards, very switchy, flashing in the lane, makes it very difficult to throw to the end zone. But good quick movement from the Japaners. See Sokolski getting horizontal there, but Ancelin very patient, and eventually they get the easy shot to Bourneau.
Eva Bourneau, if you're a fan of Ultimate Sisters, there's quite a few of those at the World Games in flying disc. Bourneau sisters being one of them, Lison and Eva. Both very young for this French team. Eva, 19 years of age. Lison, I believe, as well. And the other two would be the Australian Phillips sisters and the Colombian Cardenas sisters.
Yeah, definitely. I think Ultimate's a great sport for twins and sisters. Seem to be a lot of famed ones around the place.
As much as I love my sister, Liam, I'm not sure if we gel that well on the field. In any case,
that happens sometimes.
Here's a huge pull out of Bourneau, way past the brick mark. Asada swings it to Inamura. Big gainer, Tajima. We haven't seen much of her. And a continuation deep shot, but that will be defended. And we see a nice fist pump going up by Céline Antoine, giving France a first chance to break.
Antoine leading her troops into battle. A great performance in the opening few minutes from the captain. As you see the other captain, Ancelin, pick up this disc. Seen a lot of Inamura so far in this game. The Japanese player was actually one of those players back in 2012 which beat USA to win a World Championships in Japan, which really shifted the landscape of Ultimate around the world.
We see a greatest attempt as Ancelin overthrows his target. The disc goes out of bounds, but the disc lands in the hands of the Japanese once more. Inamura goes sideways to Asad. Asada has it now in front of the end zone. And he finds his continuation. This time Kashino not defended, gets the sliding catch. Japan goes up 3 points.
Yuko Kashino with her first goal of the game. So I might remember her as Yuko Suzuki, one of the stars of Japan for the last decade. I think she's been great for that team, and they need to utilize her more, particularly in those kind of horizontal cuts in front of the disc. Something she's very, very good at, and it's a great way to initiate play. Also coming back into the handler role. And as I said, it's been a challenge for Japan to play good mixed ultimate, but also playing with players of a different age disparity. That was actually a very good greatest. And look, you got to put it up there and hope it lands in one of your teammates' hands, but it goes the other way this time.
We see the slight overthrow. Asada probably not the intended receiver, but he gets the disc anyway in almost the exact same spot. And Kashino with a score for Japan. Really like her aggressive play, decisive cuts. That's what you need to do if you want to get the disc in mixed. With the French trailing behind a little bit, but so much time in this game left. They get underway in the opposite direction. Looking for the reset is Lepagnol. He has to put it deep. Who can get there first? Can anyone do it? Yes, they can. What a great layout save by Mathieu Bosser. He's had an assist in this game already, and he adds a goal to his scoreboard. low fives all around. A bit lucky for the French, but counts nonetheless, Liam.
Nice sculpted beard there. Mathieu Bosser was captain of the French Open Beach team. They got a bronze medal at the World Championships back in Royan in France. He's been quiet enough this tournament, but when they've looked for him, he's stepped up. Le Pagnol was definitely high in the stall count and looked for Bosser. Well, I believe is some kind of fitness coach or performance enhancing coach.
I think Becker would have had a shot on that disc as well. In any case, Bosser making a name up for himself on the field. His ultimate sporting hero is Michael Jordan. Do you think he's watching, Liam?
I hope so. I hope so.
We're tied at 3 in this Pool B game between Japan and France.
I know Michael Jordan did a bit of baseball. I know softball is in the World Games. Michael Jordan might get involved with that.
Honna puts up a huge inside-out shot. It's hanging, and Yoshida is underneath. Gets it in the red zone. French. It seems like it will be called back on what I assume can only be a travel call.
Eric Becker, never shy of a travel call. He isn't a good player. See in the background there, this is the Pat Sullivan Field, John Carroll High School.
Call is accepted by Honna. The players agree on the stall count. Honna has been playing for 12 years, 30 years of age, so you do the math. Here he is. Seems like he wants to reset. He gets it, but they put a deep shot up anyway. Who's gonna run it down first? Arakawa for another goal and a little celebration with Akifumi Muraoka.
Arakawa calling his age there on Muraoka, says that's mine. There was 2 Japanese players there, but Arakawa doesn't score as much goals as he did, up being a little bit selfish. We see that celebration again. We call it the Saki celebration. Not entirely sure what's going on there, but we like it nonetheless. We get a look at that travel call. I've seen bigger travels. It seemed like he might have taken a little step at the start there.
A little step can make a big difference when you're trying to get around your mark, but here's the replay of the second deep shot. Arakawa has enough time to tell his teammate that, you know what, I'm gonna take that. How about you let me shine? No travel on that second one in any case. Asada with the assist.
I think respecting your elders is a big thing in Japan, and Arakawa called that seniority on that one. He says, no, that's mine. I have a few more stats to get in this tournament.
And here is France in a desperate need to hold, as they have lost a couple of breaks to Japan at the start of the game again. Anselan wants the leading pass, gets it eventually. Watsogolski really need to work hard to get free. But here he is, all open, just needs to go to the end zone. Good switch by Japan. But here it is, Céline Antoine reels it in for Japan. Look at that smile on her face. A little hug with Roblet. She's all smiles with that tricolora headband, enjoying her time on the screen.
This game having good pace to it now. Both offenses clicking. I think people are starting to enjoy their ultimate. Again, not a great position to be in. Lost your first 2 games. Already down to the consolation bracket, but now just accepted that and want to win some games. This is a great honor to play in this. All ultimate players dream of playing at the World Games. Go out there and get some wins.
Céline Antoine with 2 goals in this game already. 1 block that we saw in one of the earlier points, preventing Japan to score the last, to throw the last pass for the score. 35 years of age, 160 centimeters high, out of Strasbourg. And her sporting hero is actually on the pitch with her. It is none other than Gael Ancelan, and he's been her teammate and her friend since they started playing Ultimate. He's like a scientist of Ultimate, she says. Very impressive. The Japanese will face a little bit of Pochi D by France. Good continuation, big fakes from Muraoka, who's now working with Asada. Asada resets, changes the angle of attack. Honna. They go through their break side just like the French like to do. And now Japan knocking on the doorstep. Nope, they will take one more pass backwards. Asada to Yoshida. Asada has a wide open receiver, and that's a second score for Yuko Kashino. Japan with a clean hold.
A beautiful cross-field blade, that traditional Japanese throw. The Japanese finding their stride at this stage of the tournament. I think probably the biggest fault for Japan was arriving late here. You saw a lot of the other teams play warm-up matches, find a groove. I think that has probably been the demise of this Japanese team, because they're looking a hell of a lot better than they have in the last 2 days. And that is a throw that Japan are renowned for.
I really wonder if that movement of the stack, that shifting of the stack in the end zone towards the thrower that opened up that space on the break side, or open side. Anyway, the space on the other side of the end zone was intentional or not. In any case, it did the job for sure. And another point for Japan as they get ready to throw the disc back to their French opponents. Mondio, one of the superstars of her home team, Yaka, going to the World Ultimate Club Championship that starts in about a week in Ohio, Cincinnati. Gets the disc in the middle. Oh, and a huge block in the open side. Was that Matsuno? Matsuno centers. Okumura goes back to Matsuno. Another break chance for Japan. Okumura puts up a flick hut into the end zone. His teammate underneath it, but this time out of reach for Kitao.
That was a new angle of a vintage player there. Matsuno getting horizontal. Never seen him in that drone shot before, setting the trap. He's still got some moves.
38 years of age. He will be 39 this September, I believe.
Somebody check that man's passport. I thought he was older. He's been knocking around a while.
If you're that good, you might as well stick around. France with a second chance on an offensive hold. They swing the disc back and forth. No mark on Becker. Now they set it. A visionary pass, but too far for Mondio. Not sure that the thrower really properly checked where she was, or if they could see over their mark, but here's Japan going the other way. Easy dish to Okumura. Arakawa working with Matsuno, and here's the break side throw into the end zone, a bit too high. Good job, Japanese defense, forcing turnovers out of France. But then, even though they only have a last third of the field to work with, unable to convert so far. So one more chance for the French. Becker. That was a very interesting situation. We see Roger going down, holding onto his shoulder. And a foul called on the field.
No call. No call.
Turnover, hand signal there from Roger. He just got contact, but was happy with the situation. Matsuno was just wandering around the field there for a second, but he picks it up now.
Goes through the break side immediately. And just like that, they put it in. Japanese with another break. Okumura with an assist. And we clearly see the positive energy coming off of Japan finally starting to click and collecting breaks slowly but steadily in this first half against France.
As you said, Japan starting to click now. Kind of wish they started clicking yesterday. And a timeout being called by France. I really love Matsuno's role now in this game. Hasn't thrown a turnover yet. The D opportunities, he starts just quarterbacking the offense, keeping the disc moving. You see some of the turnovers here. Matsuno setting the trap there. Brilliant defense. We saw it in the drone shot first.
This was unfortunately a turnover. Good vision by the Japanese, but again, slight execution error. I've seen them on both sides now. In any case, I was talking about the World Ultimate Club Championship earlier, so if you've already managed to fall in love with the laser shots, layout grabs, and all-around wonderful environment of our sport, you'll be pleased to know that starting July 23rd, there'll be the World Ultimate Club Championship taking place in Cincinnati, Ohio. And the World Flying Disc Federation, together with Ultiworld.com, are proud to present to you the coverage of 128 teams from 40-plus countries. To subscribe, visit Ultiworld.com. The finals will be available online for free here on the Olympic Channel.
Looking forward to that tournament. I'm going to be there. It's going to be exciting. It's 124 of the best teams. 128 of the best teams in the world. Yeah, bit of deja vu. We were back there in 2018. Really great tournament. Hoping for less lightning delays. After all, this is a cursed sport. We seem to get lots of weather no matter where we are in the world. But we strive on. Matsuno staying on for another point in a row.
And Roger's shoulder seems to be okay as he raises his arm in preparation for the reception of the pole. He collects for France. And a very cheeky throw, not very cheeky, just smart recognition of the free space, slicing through the Japanese zone. But of course, as I say that, the commentator's curse strikes just like the lightning earlier in the day. And they get the D on the second throw from Roger.
I love that blade, though. Gotta love that blade. That was.
Me too. Loved it.
Good
was
shot.
Great.
That was a classic European indoors blade.
There's no win, just take it. But another timeout immediately out of the Japanese. Matsuno takes the disc to the sideline, does the hand signal. And the teams huddle up yet again. So if this is the first time you're hearing about Ultimate, it is a sport where we like to do things differently. First of all, as you might have noticed, it is mixed gender. Second of all, we also like to give the referees a bit of a break by simply self-officiating. And the so-called spirit of the game to the mix makes great D. Absolutely excellent athleticism by Matsuno. He's having a lot of fun in this game, throwing himself around.
He's seeing those opportunities as well, and that's where Matsuno needs to step up. That's twice he's done that. Read the play. It's not just athleticism, it's seeing the moment, taking that. Calling a timeout here. Don't know if he's just a little bit tired after playing 2 points in a row, but I always like making a defensive play and then calling a timeout, getting a few high fives from your teammates.
Exactly. I think he just wanted to make sure that everyone saw it and wanted to make sure that everyone knew it was him.
It was Roger who turned it over after that big blade to the middle. He's been a standout in this tournament. I know he just threw a turnover there, but Roger, I think, looking at the Ultiworld stats, has the most throwing yards of anyone in this tournament. Definitely most quarterback-like handler here at the World Games.
And a beautiful break throw to get the Japanese off the line. Nakada finds Matsuno for the reset. A little bit of contact on the mark, immediately accepted by Robles. Really like Matsuno getting low on his throws. Looks like a wolf getting ready to strike. Not to be ageist, I'm not going to say the gray wolf. Japanese continue with a big gainer and a little give and go action. They spread it wide. Matsuno through the break side. Arakawa now. Back to Matsuno. High release backhand. Imanishi in the red zone, turns around, decides to go for the reset. Matsuno removing Takada to make space for Arakawa in the end zone. It actually makes sense. She was in the break side a little bit, taking up the space for the future cut that was developing. Arakawa with another score for Japan, and they take the half, 7-4.
Yeah, Arakawa with his fourth goal of the game so far, 4 out of Japanese 7. And you can see when he gets to the end zone, look for that man. That's his bread and butter. That's what he's good at. Used to traditionally wear a red hat quite a lot. Used to call him Super Mario sometimes, Arakawa, but following the WFTF uniform guidelines here.
I remember the red hat very much from earlier tournaments. See the replay. He's making sure that the defender Mondio doesn't get dragged into the space where Arakawa was making his cut into. And that is half. So as the teams will take a break to freshen up, we will leave you with the final score: Japan 7, France 4.
Indeed, Japan with 3 straight to take half. It is 7-4 for Japan. These two countries both looking for their first win here at the World Games. I am Evan Lepler. This is not Daryl Stanley or Megan Termy, but Brian Graham from the PDGA, the Professional Disc Golf Association, joins us here. Brian, thank you and appreciate your patience. You were supposed to join us hours ago, but Mother Nature intervened. Disc golf was in the World Games 21 years ago. What's the pathway back into the World Games for your sport?
Well, disc golf has grown by leaps and bounds, especially over the quarantine. COVID was very good at disc golf. I think we doubled in size, our association, and disc golf is just growing all over the world. So I think we are all ready for the World Games in 2025 in Chengdu.
What was that like for you to see the explosion of disc golf as a great, safe, outdoor, socially distant activity?
It was pretty cool. You know, I've been in the sport for 25, 30 years, and I think we all kind of knew that this day was going to come. We didn't know that a global pandemic would be the reason that it came so quickly, but here we are.
Tell us about the international disc golf landscape. It's huge in North America. What other countries has it really exploded around the world?
Well, it's really growing all over the world. For some reason in Scandinavia, it's huge. Finland is one of the top sports in all of the country. Matter of fact, I'll be in Finland next week at the European Open, which is probably the best disc golf tournament in the world.
Wow, where are you going?
Nokia, Finland.
That sounds wonderful.
It is.
And a long journey, but many folks have made long journeys to get here. What is the roadmap? Whose arms do you have to twist? How do you convince the World Games to allow disc golf back in?
Well, we have a great partnership with WIFDIF, and obviously that's the way into the World Games through the Flying Disc program. We do have a meeting tomorrow with some of the Chinese delegation from Chengdu, and hopefully we can convince them that disc golf is ready for the World Games. We would love to join our ultimate brothers and sisters in Chengdu.
It seems like a perfect fit, and there's certainly been a cool crossover. Ultimate players transitioning to disc golf. Not so much the other way around, but I know disc golfers are intrigued by Ultimate Frisbee as well.
Oh yeah, you know, brothers and sisters in disc is what we say, and it's it was kind of neat to see the explosion in the number of Ultimate players that came over, and obviously for reasons that team sports just couldn't happen during the pandemic. But disc golf is a socially distant sport, and it's really opened its arms to the Ultimate players.
What advice would you give to an Ultimate player or an Ultimate fan who's been thinking about pursuing disc golf but they haven't quite pulled the trigger yet?
Well, come on out. We welcome them with open arms.
How do they transition from throwing an Ultra Star to throwing a disc golf disc?
That's a question I can't answer because I cannot throw an Ultra Star disc very well, so that they'll just have to figure it out. But I'll say this, the Ultimate players that have transitioned have done very well in disc golf.
All right, well, hopefully disc golf will be in the World Games along with Ultimate Frisbee in China in 2025. We are at halftime between Japan and France. It's a 7-4 lead for the Japanese. Brian Graham from the PGA, thanks so much for being patient, waiting around and sharing some content with us.
Thank you for having us.
Brian Graham of the PDGA will take a minute timeout or so, and then Liam and Rahel will have the call of the second half between France and Japan.
Second half of a Pool B game between Team Japan, currently winning 7-4 over Team France. Liam, can you summarize quickly the first half and what happened?
I'll summarize it quickly. Japan have found their groove. Unfortunately for them, a little bit too late to make the bracket play, but having a good lead over France now.
They have started on offense coming out of half. And here they are sporting the white kit for the first time on the stream. Inamura, completely unmarked. Still takes the next pass, and it's an overthrow, but a save. And a deep shot is an immediate continuation into the end zone. And Japan's with a score by Honna.
Brilliant score by Honna. Definitely one of those players who stepped up later on this tournament, was struggling to find his feet earlier, but I think he's really excelled as more of a mid for this Japanese team. I think he actually threatens much more. If he pushes down the field, going deep, coming under, he can do it all.
Great throw by Tajima. It was Tajima with the save for Japan, and then the continuation assist. So, not perfect.
But things kind of going the way of the Japanese today. Didn't yesterday. Had that very tight game against Australia where they lost by essentially one break. Australia got one break, they got 0. But their D-line offense much, much better now. And that's probably Matsuno transitioning a bit to being a bit more safe of a handler, which has helped them, trusting his teammates more to be able to grind it up.
Here's Miwa Tajima one more time on the camera. She has played for 7 years, and she is one of those people who gets to luckily play with their ultimate hero on the team because it is Kaede Yoshida for her. Japanese put up a poll. Roger, who hasn't been in the best mood for this game, I believe, picks up for France, goes immediately to Le Pagnol. Le Pagnol waiting for Roblet to get open, but Roblet slips and Roger has it again, fakes the hammer. Doesn't want to play backwards, goes to the front. Capel. Roblet now in front of the end zone, and with the assist for a sliding catch to Vincent Le Pagnol. He's had an assist earlier in the game. Now he adds a goal to his stats. France going up 5.
That's on Le Pagnol with a very French celebration, but quite a Japanese catch there, that sliding knee catch, something I definitely associate with Japanese ultimate.
Once more the French go first through the break side. And it almost seemed like there was no mark on the assist throw, really. So as you can see, the weather has improved on the fields. 79 degrees Fahrenheit, 29 degrees Celsius. The humidity rising, though, again after the thunderstorms. So it's a bit cooler.
That's lovely. This is lovely conditions. We shouldn't be complaining about this. Games are happening, you know?
That is correct. Nobody's getting struck by lightning. Brian Gissel doing an excellent job directing the tournament, making sure everyone stays safe, making sure that we get to stream as many games as possible for the pleasure and entertainment of the fans at home as well as on the pitch, clearly.
Saw Celsius and Fahrenheit on display there. There might have been a Kelvin. Let's look at all the units of temperature.
Or the redness of an Irishman. Here is Japan. Going sideways. Onna. Centers to Muraoka. Muraoka with a huge gainer finds a wide open receiver downfield. Japan now moving quickly. France transitioning from their poachy looks. And a huge layout in the end zone for the score. Who else than Kaede Yoshida with her another one of her signature athletic grabs.
Too easy for Yoshida. Just lays out and grabs that one. Pretty cash, you know? And I think it's been a question for me about Yoshida being on the O-line, because you see how good she is. I feel like they haven't utilized her enough, actually. You see, I think she's one of the best players at this tournament.
Incredible grad. She's been great on defense and offense, just both. How do you decide?
I think in the game yesterday they should have crossed her over more. That's my take. They did it once, and she marked Pat Phillips, and that was the matchup I was praying for all tournament long. And they'd won heated battle in the air. But I think if they did it more, they might have won that game. They needed, 1-2 breaks to change the course of that match. And look, Yoshida's great on offense and defense, trying to get the most out of one of your most talented players.
Yoshida being another one of big contributors to Japanese Ultimate. She played all over the world. She's especially highlighting her experience with Seattle Riot. And she has started a new team in Japan just to improve the competition, grow the sport on the women's side in Japan. And now she's here being a hero to all her friends at home and fans at home watching. France need a clean offensive hold big time. Becker passes to Roblet. A lot of sagging. This is what we like to call the Japanese defense. Now they approach them, but it seems like a pick call. Roblet taps the disc in. Should have been tapped in by the defender, but that's okay. No call, no complaints. Nice leading pass. Roblet working with Becker. Now Lepagnol has it. Waits for the reset to get free. Good tight match D by Japan. Mondio keeps going backwards. Lepagnol opens up the field. So much pressure. Roger with another lefty throw into the end zone for Lepagnol, and this has been a great connection. Roger adds an assist. Vincent Lepagnol, 2 goals, 1 assist in this game, and a cute little ring in his ear.
I feel like that's been the throw of the tournament. That kind of leading pass to the handler into the end zone. See a lot of face guarding, a lot of tight marks on the handler, and if you do that, you leave that channel open just to lead a floaty pass into the end zone.
So here was the big break side opener by Lepagnol, and this was just creme de la creme.
Definitely something you want to try out when you have the big cutter in the handler space, just flowing out of space for him.
Like I said, fluffy, like on a cloud, delivered with love. And a fist bump to finish off the last successful point for France. Bournon does the French tuck and gets ready for the pull. For those who are not familiar, Liam, the French tuck.
Yeah, I saw Tom Stiles sporting one earlier. Thanks to you, Rahel Tushner-over, our fashion designer here in the commentary team. I'd never seen a French tuck before, but that was the first time I've seen it in the wild.
Onna tries to muscle up for the upline. Anselan gets in the way, but another travel call. I wonder who it is calling it. Asada will tap the disc back into play at stall 6. Goes with a reset pass, but gets the disc again. Honna now through the break side. Continuation into the end zone. This is way too far. And this is one of the turnovers that we have seen earlier out of Japan, just not completely connecting, but I'm going to stop talking about it immediately because apparently there was a call. And we hear Anselan explaining that he believes that it did not affect the play, whatever the call was.
I believe it was a travel, so turnover will stand.
And Anselan walks his way.
You see Evan Lepler and Daryl Stanley in the background there. I saw a little yawn out of Evan Lepler.
Our halftime show hosts and analysts.
They've been having long days. They've been putting in the hard yards, watching a lot of Ultimate.
Anselan, the teacher and inspiration to many Ultimate players, not only in France. Antoine looking for options, finally finds Anselan. Again, great poaching and switching by the Japanese. Anselan fakes the deep shot, nothing there though. Instead they go sideways. Błat Sokolski now waiting to be activated on the reset. Does get it. He has a very sagging mark. Decides to follow up on the up line. Gets it on the far sideline. We see the poach in the open side again. Roger finally finds the break side. Great contest on that catch. Eva Bournon signals the pick to stop the stall count by Yoshida, who's again been throwing herself all over the place. Wasn't a huge fan of that one. It was a bit too aggressive. Players really should do their best to avoid contact with any other players on the field. You can touch the ground as much as you want though.
Yoshida, definitely that style of player. Usually gets it right, that time maybe getting it wrong.
Antoine goes to Berthet. Berthet with an aggressive inside break by Antoine, wasn't expecting it. And here's the D by Yuko Kashino. Talk about her aggressiveness earlier. But Japan with a patient pickup. Tomoko Inamura. Guarded by the widespread wings of Berthet. Reset comes late, but it comes nonetheless. Inamura goes wide to Kashino. Kashino with an inside backhand. And here's the deep shot. And it's too far from Honna.
So a good interplay there from the Japanese women. And then there was cross-gender passes, something they've struggled a little bit with over this tournament. Definitely improved as the tournament's gone on.
We have advised them to use the combination of women throwing and men receiving. But this one is just a bit too strong. Oh, and France almost with a turnover in their own end zone, but luckily saved nicely with a last-second grab. Anselan calming things down, goes to Błat Sokolski. Two of them now. Nope, Sokolski will go to the break side. He does get it eventually. I thought they were going to have a little moment there together. And despite the excellent rundown by Bournon, who got there just in time for the catch, his disc sails out of bounds. Not the right curve on it.
Yeah, just fading out of bounds. See the French coach there detailing with his hand signals. That one had the wrong edge on it.
This was incredible effort. I think she had a really great top speed at the end of the cut. But unfortunately, there wasn't much she could have done about it. Honna picks up for Japan. Leading pass towards the middle. A big put into the end zone. A trip by the intended receiver. That was Yoshida. And another overthrow by Japan. Several turnovers in this point, Liam. This is kind of exactly the points that we've been seeing out of both of these teams when they weren't having their best game.
Japan creating great flow there, lots of inside passes, moving this quickly and just pulling the trigger a little too early there.
Ansalan thinks about the break side, but good mark by Honna. Bosser centers the disc to Płat Sokolski. Antoine fakes the hammer. I thought that was going. Ansalan has the deep option, but it's the same third throw, so he won't take it, just for the sake of education. And this was a good, it was a good overthrow because it just allowed Bournon to gain some extra yards for France. They're now nearing their own end zone. Bosser just on the end zone line. Will he take the reset, or are they going to go for the score? He pops it up. Not there just yet. Ansalan for Antoine into the end zone, and Antoine with a third score for France.
It's a long grinding point for both teams. Eating away the clock now, just 25 minutes left. We'll see if this one goes. The 13 points might make it to the time cap. Bosser just lofting one up there to Ansalan. Captain connection to get that point over the line.
Antoine's gym work paying off. She has really been crucial in some of these difficult moments for France. It seems like they can always find her when they're struggling for options. And I really attribute it to her decisive cutting. From watching what we've seen so far, the difference between European teams and, or I shouldn't say that now. I should actually say from the top teams at this competition to the not so top teams. I think it really has been good spacing and decisive cuts and throws.
It definitely is that narrative of this tournament of Europe turning up for the first time. I think as a European myself, we've always known it, that there has been these top players just being able to turn up in the big tournaments. I think this is a platform which allows for that with a short roster, 7 male matching, 7 female matching players. It allows for maybe smaller nations to compete with the likes of USA and others where, you know, you're bringing a 24-team roster and just have that depth.
That will be one of the aspects for sure. But as we will have a look at some of the most experienced players' highlights on this field, which is 100% Masahiro Matsuno.
A hero of mine. Anyone's watched the 2016 World Ultimate Ghost Championship final. One of the best games of Ultimate Round was Matsuno was the star of that. You see him here sagging the lane and just picking off those passes. He did that twice in this game. Just reading the play well. And he's someone who's really settled into this team, and it's probably difficult as to someone who, again, wasn't on the World Games roster last time, having to fit in with some younger players, but he's found his groove now. 2 assists, 2 blocks. That's some good stats for anyone.
So Japan so far winning over France 9-7. We are surely but slowly but surely nearing the hard cap of 13 points, which would end the game. So if France is to still apply some defensive pressure, they better do it now. They stick with match D. Yoshida goes to Kashino. Asada goes sideways. Japan now on the far sideline, goes through the break side, just shy of the end zone. But another travel call will send the disc right back to Arakawa. The scoring machine for Japan in this game. 3 goals to his name so far. Good matchup with Robles. They go backwards to Inamura. Asada making sure there's space where he wants to throw the disc, but it wasn't just his teammates who saw that, it was also the French defense. Roger kicks down the cone. Goes to the middle. Fouquet. Antoine was a bit disappointed that she didn't get the disc, thinking that she was very free. Fouquet puts up a deep shot. Bournat is underneath. She collects it. She's been doing this all through her junior years, so no surprise there that she held her position well. Robles to Becker. France with now all the time in the world in front of the end zone, but can Roger hold his nerves? Or are we gonna see another one of his highlight throws? Nope, it will be somebody else who's gonna try their luck for the last pass into the end zone, and it is Arakawa with the defense.
Arakawa with a double swipe there. Definitely not the tallest man in the field, but that one carried up into the air. He held his ground.
And goes the other way. Not exactly the outcome of this point that the French were hoping for. They really need to work hard if they want to stay in this game. A deep shot goes up. Sada sends it. A great last-second grab. Tajima knocking on the doorstep. Great defensive effort by Roger. Asada for the assist. And again, it's Yuko Kashino with the score. 3rd one in this game. Look how happy she is, Liam.
The player from Hiroshima. Her nickname is Hiro. Given her home city. Been playing for a long time with this Japanese team. Another one of the world champions from 2012.
Look at
yeah,
that.
she's
Great
putting
read.
Arakawa up to limits in terms of top goal scorer in this game. Arakawa getting the block in that one.
We see the frustration from Sullivan Robles. And here's the high grab with a nice layout afterwards by Yuko Kashino.
That was a little French celebration there, I think. Take what you want of that one, but Japanese always keen for a bit of fun.
Yeah, 3 goals, 1 block. Impressive stats by Kashino. Japan going 10 over France's 7. We have a look at the little numbers next to the names of the countries. In the left corner of your screen, you will see the original seeding of these teams. They're actually 6th and 7th seeds, so close together. Roger finds his open teammate on the far sideline. He will take the disc right back in the middle. Sideways to Płat Sokolski. Bosser. Japanese keep sagging. Antoine working with her male matchups. Roger now in the last third of the field goes for the huge hammer into the end zone. And Mathieu Bosser is there to collect it. Finally, a nice offensive hold and a clean one as well out of France.
Roger seeing passes that no one else does. The crossfield leading hammer. Something that just shows his finesse, his creativity. Man has played with many different club teams. Was actually given an award of Best Youth Ultimate Player in Europe a few years ago. I think it was only 1 year the award existed, but he put it in the bag. He's played with the likes of Shack Montreal Royal and USB.
He has recognized the space there so beautifully. You saw that from the overhead shot. You saw his teammates streaking. And I think Roger was more than ready for that one. So I think Japan has been doing a great job defensively, slowing down the French, really making them take these creative options, especially around the end zone. So I think it might be one of the biggest reasons they have maintained the lead so far in this game. But still some time left for France to make their final push, show off on the world stage on this stream. Arakawa forced to go backwards. Gets it again, passes it to Muraoka. Muraoka wastes no time, puts it deep, but this time the disc kind of almost stops in the air, and French with a huge chance to break. Bournon. She's been having a heck of a tournament for the young age she is, together with her sister Eva. Had a call on the field.
Massive opportunity for the French here. They haven't had too many break opportunities. Very bizarre stack at the moment. Kind of a sideways vertical stack, very clumped again in the middle. They need to get this D-line offense rolling.
Bournon centers. Lepagnol continues sideways. Big fakes out of the French, but not much happening so far downfield. Nice gainer to the break side. Becker with Lepagnol. Lepagnol looks into the end zone, and this time they just do it just the other way around. Quentin Roger goes to his knees but is holding on. A break for France.
See that celebration again. Roger finding himself in the end zone, almost confused. And often you'll see him there running down a hook. The French fans going wild in the stands. That's a big point for them. And I know it's been very hard to get breaks off this Japanese team.
Roger joining the club of boys who braid. Let's see the turnover first. Good look from the Japanese, but the throw just too short. And good awareness by Becker to close up on that one. And here is the visionary pass to Roger.
Adding to his yardage total. One of the standouts of the tournament. It's something France have done really well in this tournament. You know, people maybe not expect them to do that well, but they've always thrown themselves open. If they found themselves in difficult positions, they've used their throws. Sometimes there's athletic mismatches or they're struggling a lot of pressure downfield. They've used their throws to open up space and to get respect on the field. Roger has really led that for the French.
Bournon with the pull for France. Best chance for a second break is right after the first one. Can France do it again? Japanese set up horizontally. Honna spins his arm around, centers the disc. It's Asada on the other side. Now they get a quick give and go, pop in. Lots of pressure underneath. Oh, but saved by Honna, who continues in front of the end zone. And that's another lucky score for the Japanese. Can't believe that it's none other than Yuko Kashino again with the score.
Japan riding the lightning there. They've done it twice in this game where they've picked up the trash. Honna that time, looked like that one was gone to the dirt. I think Yoshida already given up and presumed it was going to hit the ground. Honna picks it up and wastes no time getting momentum for the Japanese. And sometimes things are just going away, but also just awareness. The old Japanese players play with heads up offense, want to see the disc, want to see what's happening, so are there to pick up any loose passes.
So despite Roger crossing over to the D-line to help solve the end zone defense of the Japanese, No second break for the French so far, despite the great defensive effort on the match D. And here's another replay of the Japanese celebration.
And low-key might be best Sally celebration team here. I remember back in Shanghai, they were always working the camera.
Well, we've seen some good stuff out of the Colombians as well. We can compare later on. We have another game coming up with Team Colombia, but in the meantime, France trying to stay alive as Antoine gets it from Roger. Here's a nice upline cut by Capel. Capel wanted the reset. Berthet provides it. Roger goes for the creative. Outside into the break side to Ancelan. Right in front of the end zone is Lepagnol. French setting up for their end zone play. Roger has the upline, but a switch prevents it. He puts it up. Another funny one into the end zone. He wants the hype. He wants the happenings out of this French team. They're staying alive. Japan 11, France 10.
Another pull play from the French, something they've been clearly working a lot on. That time, the two cutters on the upside clearing out, allowing Celine Antoine to come in, get that first play. Probably out of every nation I've seen here, France have been doing the most pull plays. And I like that goal from Vincent Lepagnol. Actually used his body to create space, cut in towards the disc, boxed out his defender, left a load of space for him to run onto. Easy for the thrower just to put it out to him.
We'll see the good last-second switch on the completely free upline Lepagnol. But there isn't much even the best defenders can do about that one. Lepagnol's got the height, had the space behind him. And France really now having to give it their all to bring some of the breaks back that they have lost early on in this game. Japan getting ready to receive. Ball goes up. It's hanging. It's going all the way into the end zone. French approaching dangerously quickly. Arakawa to the center. Yoshida and Bourneau loving that matchup. Here's Inamura. Looking around her tall mark. Inamura with not too many options. Finally finds Arakawa. And now it's Asada. Back to Arakawa in the middle. Slip. Muraoka will try to attack the end zone. No, goes for the reset. And here is a beautiful leading pass into the end zone, but it's an overthrow. We've seen a few out of Asada.
France fighting here there. They put Arakawa on the ground. I think that was actually just good defense, making him work a lot harder than he's had to. You can see how much this means to the French. In the context of the tournament, maybe not the most important game, but France, they've worked so hard for this. This has been a dream for them, you know, to get to this stage, to bring out their best, and they want this win over Japan, and they're showing it now in the latter stages of the game.
First time at the World Games. Here is France with a chance to break. Sullivan Roblet on the sideline, looking for his reset. Finds an upline high grab by Becker. Becker puts up a deep shot. There's pressure underneath. And Blat Sokolski doesn't get quite high enough for that disc. And France will just have to do it one more time. Wasn't a terrible option. It was aggressive. It went deep. Japan with a whole field to go. Maybe they've been able to find a chink in the armor of Kazuki Asada. Arakawa returns the disc straight back to him on a foul call. The disc will come back in on stall 1. Arakawa gets the disc again, returns it immediately to Honna. And Asada wastes no time, finds Arakawa in front of the end zone. Kashino right in front of the end zone. Inamura. Nothing there, we'll have to reset. But a little too late for the French defense to get their second chance for a turnover. Taiyo Arakawa adds another one for the scoreboard for Japan. They're now only 1 point away from the hard cap.
Big opportunity there for the French to tie the game. You see Becker putting his hands on his head. He knows that was a massive moment. Now game point for the Japanese. You see them looking towards Arakawa there. Late in that point, a big trust throw to the speedy receiver. Has been timeless for the last 10, 12 years. You can see there's not a huge amount of separation, but just putting it out there, trusting his speed, has a look around as he often does. He's a very patient person, you know. Someone as a receiver, he does not cough up the disc very easily.
See him position himself. His defender face guarding. And even though there isn't much separation, he just creates it. It's that end speed and the decisiveness of the cut. But I think I saw him there earlier pointing to his teammates that he might take this next point off, and it obviously makes a lot of sense. Mondio on a contested catch goes through the break site. Le Bagnol will try for the leading pass. Ancelan almost subject to Poach D. Roger. Will he get creative again? Huge put into the end zone, but the disc is hanging. So many people underneath. Ancelan with the catch over 3 other players, but I think the question now is, was he in or out?
I think he was definitely in from where I'm sitting. Gail Ancelan comes out of nowhere there. Not sure if that was intended for him.
Good on him, recognizing early that there might be a chance for him to use his height and excellent awareness. He really was trying to roll away from the female players behind him. And here he is, keeping his cool, making sure that his team is still fired up, because this game isn't over. They only need 2 breaks one break to take us to Universe and 2 breaks to win the game. And French have been close so many times in this tournament already. I almost wish that they could get the desired win.
As a neutral, you want this to go to Universe point or double game point, whatever you want to call it.
100%.
Next
and then
point wins.
Let the better team win. Yes,
yeah,
I
that's what
completely
we want. We just
agree.
want more of this game. It's been really enjoyable from both teams. Good spirit, good energy. You see Borno. It's had a sensational tournament, really putting her name in the international scene.
It helps when you have a sister who also has a lot of highlights. In any case, this is a good pull. This is a very good pull out of the French. Japanese not under much pressure, knowing that they have at least 2 chances. Think about the deep shot, holster it. Oh, and an unfortunate drop. Huge chance for France. Bosser goes backwards. Le Pagnol now, knocking on the doorstep. They have lots of time, but a hammer in the end zone solves it all. That's a break. Sullivan Robled takes this game to Universe.
Sugar-coated hammer. Kind of a tight angle, same third of the field up the line. Not something you'd expect, but Robled had a very exciting game yesterday. He's been quiet so far, but stepped up when they mean it, and is now Galaxy point as we see some of the French fans, another stretching, celebrating. It's been stressful for everyone watching this in the most enjoyable way.
What a lovely game, Liam. I am so excited that we do get to experience a Universe point. See the wobble again. That is just, it's gotta be nerves. And the easiest score in the world. We see Roblet keeps carrying the disc by his side. And here's the French huddle. Wouldn't you just love to hear what's going through their heads?
See Gail Ancelon giving the captain's speech, getting the troops riled up. Sometimes it's easier to start off on defense in these kind of universe point situations. You can use that pressure, that excitement to your advantage. Japan need to stay cool and calm. Timeout from the French.
Ancelon has called this game, this team, before in a pre-tournament interview, a goofy team. He said they do have some people who take it very seriously and are not as goofy, but the overall vibe he was saying was goofy. So let's say if they mean business in this universe point of one of the last Pool B matchups, Bournat preparing to pull for France. We're tied at 12. Let the better team win. Huge pull. Makes it all the way into the end zone. Honna centers for Japan. He's got Arakawa striking deep. He's going to run it down. Only a few centimeters by the Japanese. Almost a run through D by Roger. But it seems like there was a bit of contact in the end zone.
I like that play, though, from the Japanese. Universe point, get your best thrower out there, best receiver, and just launch it. I like that. Waste no time. Bit of a trust throw. Looks like an injury is called here.
Roblet got stepped on, I think, by Arakawa, trying to start one of his powerful cuts. I would have hoped that France would be a bit more careful about those deep cuts from Arakawa, but Ancelon taps the disc back in at stall count 0. Last chance from France to get the D. Arakawa looking around, finds Asada. Asada with a break side throw to Arakawa. Japan take the game over France 13-12, and this is the end.
The Japanese crowd goes wild. They worked so hard, really stepped up their game, Japan, in this third game for them in the group stage. So finished third in the group. Heartbreak again from France. They've worked so hard. They've been so courageous this tournament. And as a European, I've been very proud of them and how they've brought the game. But again, I like that. Honna to Arakawa. Thrust throw. It's a good thing to do, I think, at a universe point is just launch it deep once. It's hard to play small ball with that amount of pressure. And Arakawa has been so solid.
We saw Antoine running that one down together with her male teammate, and we saw her be a bit frustrated about how did this happen? How did they get such a huge gainer straight away off of the second pass practically? But nonetheless, great fight put up by both teams. I think Japan really finally for most of the game, they found their groove. They found what they were looking for throughout this tournament. Like you said, a little too late, but they showed it off on this stream. France, again, coming up short, but so unlucky for them. Here are some of the highlights from this wonderful game, including point celebrations. They have been very, very creative out of the Japanese, aspiring for the spike competition winners.
Yoshida with a big layout grab. She's been outstanding in this tournament, one of the players to watch. Bit of a spicy bit there from Yoshida. It happens occasionally, but definitely winning the celebrations, putting up the Colombians. I wish they were putting as much effort into celebrations as their offense in the first two games, but Arakawa, a goal machine nonetheless. You can see how much it means to the Japanese.
Another game in the books for Flying Disc. Still more action coming your way later on. A North American matchup between US and Canada is up next. And you can also start looking forward to the semifinals tomorrow.
The Japanese take down France on Universe 13-12. How about the French? Their first opportunity at the World Games. They're 0-3, 3 losses by 5 goals, including 2 on Universe. They played valiantly. It was cool to hear Liam say how proud he was as a European of the French effort. They will be back, but today belong to Japan.
Yeah, Japan looked crisp in a way we had not seen yet. Their throws were just so zippy, and their ability to stretch the long game when it was appropriate but not overuse it, they just hadn't quite hit those moments the way they did today.
I think Hona, Asada stepped up big time for that O-line. Arakawa, oh my goodness. I mean, we saw some of the best blend of the Japanese long offense that they were trying to set up, but I saw a lot of those inside throws, a lot of those up lines. It was a really just like a traditional Japanese game.
You were kind of geeking out during the game. You were so excited to see the level the Japanese were elevating themselves to.
Oh, their marks were closer. The zone that they were playing was way more effective. We saw Masahiro start to connect on some of those shots with the D-line offense. This was clinical. Instant throws off of like those upline cuts. It was just incredible.
Let's take a look at some of the highlights. It was really a back and forth game. The French had their share of highlights as well. But yeah, you mentioned Arakawa. I mean, how long has this guy been so fast and so steady and so dominant?
Yeah, just watching how they set up for these reset throws, they'll put you in a position where your back is to the Frisbee and you can't see what's going to happen. And then there's that trust between the thrower and the receiver to just throw you out into space. I mean, you see it in that front of the stack goal, Arakawa catching that goal right there. They were feasting on that.
I asked you during the game, Daryl, is there an American player that you would compare to Arakawa with the stature and speed combination? Did you come up with anybody?
It's pretty hard, but I think Dylan has done a really fantastic job. Dylan Freechild. He can run like that a lot sometimes. Like a couple times I've noticed Arakawa would almost overrun the pass. He was so quick and have to slow down and chop his feet. Dylan Freechild is about the only American I've seen that can sometimes do it.
Megan, what stood out most to you about the Japanese effort? The French, after trailing by a couple, got a late break to tie it up 12-all. Here's that break coming down the stretch, but on Universe, pretty confident offense. A deep shot for Arakawa, their typical standard end zone maneuverings, and it was Taiyo Arakawa catching the game winner.
Yeah, they were appropriately bold at the very end of the game. I think France probably would have imagined they would have waited to unleash that long throw.
Look at that separation he had on Universe. I mean, they know he's going deep, and he still is able to create that 5-10 meters of space.
What's amazing to me is that they were so confident. They did not have Matsuno out there or Akafumi Maraoka. That's how confident they were that Arakawa was the isolated receiver to hit. Unbelievable.
A look at the final stats. Each team finished with 4 breaks, and in fact, the French had a couple more break chances. Only 11 turnovers per side. 2 teams that'll head into the consolation bracket, and I would not be at all surprised. In fact, I kind of expect to see Japan and France meet in the 5th place game here on Saturday. That's saying that I think both these teams are the stronger sides against Canada and Great Britain. Of course, Canada is thinking, what is Lepler talking about? We're playing for a spot in the semifinals tonight, and that is true. But that's what I expect.
I would never, like the way the U.S. has played, unfortunately, I'm not going to count out anybody. Canada was ramping up. Brittany Dos Santos is ramping up. Kamora is ramping up. I'm not ready to just put them into the consolation bracket just yet.
It is really difficult to declare the United States the loser in between the U.S.-Canada matchup when it hasn't yet happened at the World Games. But I agree with your assessment, Evan, and understand your lack of confidence, Daryl. Like, we are sitting in a seat that we were not expecting going into this tournament, where we're like, will this really fantastic team be able to pull it out? We are completely unsure in a way that we were not expecting to be.
One thing we expected about these seats coming into the tournament is that they would be hot, and that is in fact the case. They are toasty seats that we are in, and it is really humid here in Alabama, as you'd expect after the downpour this morning. The sun has come back out, and we are gearing up for 2 more huge pool play games, one to determine the winner of Pool B, and the other to determine the 4th semifinal semifinalist, along with Germany, Colombia, and Australia. We're going to take a quick break, and when we return, the legend from the Far East, Masahiro Matsuno, joins us at our game day set after Japan's universe point win here over France.
The last 50 years have seen a lot of positive change
around a whole range of important issues.
And some things remain reassuringly unchanged.
Like the spirit of our game.
Ultimate is 50 years young
and still a perfect circle
of fair play,
athletic pursuit,
and camaraderie.
In fact, Ultimate was a social network
before social networks even existed.
Respetamos nuestras diferencias
and understand the value that they add.
The revolution of the disc in flight continues to prove
that there's nothing we can't achieve
when we
pull together.
Long live Ultimate.
Larga vida Ultimate.
Long live Ultimate.
Back in Birmingham at the 2022 World Games here on day 3 of the flying disc competition, and one of the legends of our sport is joining us now. Masahiro Matsuno of Team Japan, along with translator Kaz. Thank you so much for being here. You first came to the World Games in 2005. What has it meant to be here as the old guy on the team here in 2022?
最初に出た時、はい、今この年になって出てどうですか？
いや、まさかこの年になって出るとは思わなかったです。
So he doesn't believe. So he is in here in this age.
Yeah. Surprised to have made it.
What was tryouts like? How surprised were you that you made the team?
トライアウトを受けてて、今どんな感じでチームにジョインしたのかって。
まあそれはもう一番最初のワールドゲームズから一緒で、まあ選ばれるため、メダルを取るためにやってきたので、それはやってたこと変わらないです。
So he is doing the effort for the selected for the World Games. The first time when he selected, it's a kind of same. Always he's doing something. I mean, it means making the effort every day and continue it.
Well, that shows.
I was going to ask, what do you think? Today, you guys looked incredible. What did it take to kind of ramp up and get yourself to the speed and high quality that you showed today?
前回、前の2がちょっと微妙だったけど、今日どうやって上げてきたんですか、いろんなことを。
まあそうですね、もう予選敗退は決まっちゃったんですけど、まあチームのまあいいところをやっぱり日本のみんなに見せたかったですし、やっぱり負けて終われなかったので、切り替えてやりました。
So last night, our team decided, cannot go up to the best four, so we kind of changed the mind how we can win at once against France. Then, we talked about it a lot, got a meeting, then we came here to beat France, then made it.
Matsuno, as we look at highlights here, I mean, I'm wondering if you can share with the fans around the world what Ultimate has meant to your life.
Could you say again, please? Sorry.
What has Ultimate meant to your life throughout your career?
アルティメットは、松野さんにとってどんなものなんですか？
I'm not trying to make you cry.
まあ生活の一部ですね。
It's a kind of part of life.
It's part of life.
Part of life.
Yeah. How much longer can you go?
あとどのくらいやる？It's a kind of good question.
まあ僕を倒す人が現れるまで。
Until someone beat him in Japan.
Yes. I love that.
Well, you still got some game. You still were able to show your stuff, and it's magical to still watch from watching highlights of 2005 in the World Games back in Germany to the great USA-Japan game in London, and so many memories. On behalf of everyone, we thank you for all you've done for the sport in Japan and around the world. So thank you, Masahiro Matsuno, for joining us here today, and congratulations on the win.
ずっと前からいろんなプレーで観客を魅了してくれた本当にありがとう。
いや、そう言ってくれる声があるから頑張れますし、世界をやっぱりアメリカをやっぱり驚かせたいなと思います。
So he's playing because you guys like that just said, you know. So he continues to playing and still he is trying to make an effort to win against the USA.
All right. Well, we hope you are back. Well, hopefully we'll see you in China in 20. It's only 3 years until the next World Games, so you'll never know. Kichikawa played. You know, he's still going, and he's like 75. He's 43. I don't know. Thank you, Kaz, Masahiro Matsuno. What a thrill it is to be sitting here with Ultimate Royalty. We got 2 great games coming up. We'll be back in about 10 minutes to preview Australia and Colombia, the first game of the night session. But we'll take a quick timeout. Signing off for everyone here in Birmingham, I'm Evan Lepler. Australia and Colombia coming up in 10.
Thank you for watching this exclusive World Flying Disc Federation coverage of the World Games. On behalf of our entire crew in Madrid and everyone here in Birmingham, Alabama, I'm Evan Lepler. This has been a copyrighted presentation of the International World Games Association in conjunction with the Olympic Channel and the World Flying Disc Federation.